The Shanghai Dragons Season 1 performance was an absolute disaster. They had 40 chances to win a single game, but due to corruption, lack of talent, and so many other reasons, they were incapable of winning one single game. But this has all changed because on February 22nd, after 42 games, the Shanghai Dragons were able to defeat a beat-down Boston Uprising. What's crazy is that they even won their next match against the Chengdu Hunters, sparking their first ever win streak and 4-0 in franchise history. Even though the winless curse is finally over, the Shanghai Dragons losing streak will go down in history. In this video, I'm going to give my explanation on how Shanghai were finally victorious against Boston and give my thoughts on whether Shanghai can really be a serious contender this season. So first things first, let's talk about the game. How did the Shanghai Dragons finally get their first win in franchise history and beat the Boston Uprising? Well, just to be honest and straight up, every single player on Shanghai popped off, and in the Overwatch League, you need every player to step up to the plate on the highest level in order to get a win in the Overwatch League. So on the first map in Ilios, which was played on Lighthouse, Shanghai was interestingly not playing GOATs, yet they went with a Pharah Mercy comp, and Ding absolutely destroyed. Throughout the whole map, Ding was doing so much poke AoE damage from range, and Boston just did absolutely nothing about it. They could have chosen a Widow or a Hiscan to deal with the Pharah Mercy composition, but instead, Boston chose to keep their comp instead of directly countering Shanghai's airborne threat. This small decision is what led to their downfall on this very first map and gave the first map to Shanghai. On the second map in Ilios, which was played on Ruins, DM absolutely went off on his Zarya, having a 70% average energy throughout the entire map. Zarya has become such an important hero in this meta, and we see that Overwatch League matches can be decided based on which team has the better Zarya on that day. Look at AKM, he's absolutely destroying teams with his Zarya, and Dallas Fuel have been performing as a result. Look at the London Spitfire, they had to put their MVP and DPS carry Prophet on Zarya just so he could have more of an impact in the game. And as we see as a result, London is looking very good with their performances lately. A huge turnaround from how they started the season. Besides DM popping off, something I noticed was Shanghai using Monkey as their main tank, whereas Boston used Reinhardt. Even though on paper Rein might be better in a GOATS comp because of a tankier shield, the Monkey really complemented Shanghai's chaotic playstyle. Boston did not have their usual main tank fusions playing in the match, which could have played a role in Shanghai's successful strategy. Whenever Winston jumps on Boston, they panic and they lose their formation due to Winston's presence and the ability to make teams scatter. Playing with a new tank with the addition of the chaotic and fast-paced strategy of Shanghai, Boston would lose this map as well as give Shanghai their first game win of the set. The second game was played on King's Row. On this map, you really see Shanghai demonstrating their superior synergy and individual playmaking ability. The supports Koma and Luffy had their moments. Koma had amazing boops and beats on Lucio, and Luffy on Zenyatta was putting up consistent damage, which led to more transcendences than the other team. The Shatters by Gamsu was amazing, and what made it more amazing for him was that he was playing against his former team, which is always fun to watch as a fan. All that aside, Ding on Sombra was the absolute X factor, playing so well with his hacks and EMPs. His hacks and EMPs were comboed with other ults like Gamsu's Shatter, so Ding's great execution has enabled his teammates to play even better. The EMPs were so efficient, so much so that out of 53 enemies hacked, 34 of them were from EMP specifically, and this was going into the overtime round. Just like Zarya, Sombra also has a crazy impact on the game, and this was definitely displayed on this map as Shanghai was able to control the tempo and fight on their own terms. Boston seemed limited because they seemed so worried about the Sombra threat, which reinforced Shanghai's control and put the Shanghai up 2-0. The next map in the third game of the set was on Horizon Lunar, and Shanghai was one game away from making history and winning their first ever match. Horizon Lunar basically went down the same way King's Row did. The EMPs from Shanghai and the Sombra play from Ding was just too much for Boston to handle. It seemed like the Boston Uprising didn't know how to correctly counter Sombra, and Shanghai really displayed their patience and their outmaneuvering capabilities on the map, picking their fights at the perfect times. Shanghai was able to snowball pretty hard, saving their EMPs for the right moments. After the first attack, Boston Uprising had about 3:23 left on the clock, and Shanghai had 6:07, almost double the time Boston had. Statistically, the odds were overwhelmingly in Shanghai's favor, and after several rounds, Shanghai Dragons were finally able to win their first ever match in franchise history. This win definitely boosts the confidence, which in transition allows Shanghai to naturally play better and perform with a lot less pressure. Even though they lost to Dallas Fuel, a very solid team, it was still a close game, but the truth is we need to see more from Shanghai to really determine how good they really are. They have yet to really prove themselves in my opinion, and beating two teams like the Uprising and the Hunters aren't enough to determine how they would fare with top 10 teams. However, I think they do have a bright future if they remain focused and continue to play with synergy, integrity, and focus. They have really good players, and if they just work together and stay focused on the right path, they're going to be heading somewhere really great. It's going to be really fun to watch the Shanghai Dragons for the rest of Season 2. If you are happy with Shanghai Dragons finally winning their first game, show some love and like this video. If you guys enjoy content like this, subscribe to this channel. My name is Moetorious, and this video is brought to you by ESTNN.